2021, Volume 9. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Moses Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, sir, on behalf of the chairperson, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 2nd October 2024. Report of the proceedings of the Parliamentarians' Dialogue at the African Climate Summit 2023, held in the National Assembly Chamber, Parliament Building, Nairobi, on 3rd to 6th September 2023.
Senator Kathuri Mununge.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 2nd October 2024. Report of the Kenyan delegation to the 64th session of the OACPS Parliamentary Assembly and the first session of the OACPS EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly held in Rwanda, Angola from 17th to 21st February 2004. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Senator Mwenda Gataya, more fire.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give a notice of the following motion that aware that the waste management in cities, towns, and urban areas in Kenya has clearly stood out as one of the greatest challenges to the well-being of urban dwellers, particularly those living near dump sites, in infringing their right to a clean and healthy environment as provided for under Article 42 of the Constitution and Section 3 of the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, noting that most of the developed countries and some countries in Africa are managed to sufficiently deal with the use of waste management in their cities, towns, and urban areas, making them attractive to the residents and investors from other countries, and significantly reducing the risk of diseases caused by poor sanitation. Concerned that if proper waste management mechanisms are not put in place, the increased population in cities, towns, and urban areas in Kenya will worsen the situation, considering the culture displayed by most Kenyans in waste disposal. Cognizant that paragraph 2G of part 2 of the fourth schedule to the Constitution mandates county governments with the function of the refuse removal, refuse dumping, and solid waste management. Now, therefore, the Senate calls upon county governments to develop county-specific frameworks in their respective counties to regulate the challenge of waste management that will avert the associated environmental and health-related risk to the residents of cities, towns, and urban areas in Kenya. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofire, MP. I move. I give notice motion.
We will defer order number 6.2 and go to order number 6.3. Senator Moses Kajwang. Senator Legwe, I'm told you're holding brief for Senator Moses Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I give the following notice of motion, report of the proceedings of the Parliamentarians' Dialogue at the African Climate Summit 2023, held in the National Assembly Chamber, Parliament Buildings, Nairobi, on 3rd to 6th September 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give the notice of the following motion, that the Senate notes the report of the proceedings of the Parliamentarians' Dialogue at the African Climate Summit 2023, held in the National Assembly Chamber, Parliament Building, Nairobi, on 3rd to 6th September 2023, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 2nd October 2024. Thank you.
Senator Kathuri Murungi.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion that the Senate notes report of the Kenyan delegation to the 64th session of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and the Pacific States OACPS Parliamentary Assembly and the first session of the OACPS European Union Joint Parliamentary Assembly held in Rwanda, Angola from 17th to 21st February 2024, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 2nd October 2024. I thank you.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Statements pursuant to Standing Order 52-1. Senator for Kilifi, the Honorable Stewart Mazaya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52-1 to make a statement on a matter of national general tropical concern, namely the rise in cases of fraudulent officers of overseas jobs by unscrupulous recruiting and travel agencies in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, since last year, Kenya has experienced a disturbing increase in the increase of job fraud, leaving many desperate job seekers vulnerable to unscrupulous schemes. A particular alarming incident occurred in August 2023 when Mr. James Wanjohi, who is associated with Jesus Culture Ministries Church, was accused of orchestrating a large-scale fraud operation. He reportedly collected an astonishing 600 million Kenya shillings from thousands of hopeful Kenyans, promising them non-existing overseas jobs opportunities. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 24th of September 2024, another scandal emerged implicating Mr. Caesar Kingori of Vitmark Travel Agencies Limited in a multi-million shilling fraud. According to the Director of Criminal Investigations, Mr. Kingori is accused of frauduling both Kenyans and foreigners of nearly 730 million shillings. To further deceive his victims, he falsely claimed to have participated in a high-level meeting in Germany alongside the presidential official entourage, thereby exploiting the trust of many. This audacious public confidence in the viability of such opportunities. Mr. Speaker, sir, these cases underscores the alarming rate of exploitation of vulnerable individuals who are made to pay between 100,000 Kenya shillings and 150,000 Kenya shillings in their pursuit of employment opportunities. This not only impoverishes them, but also, in some instances, leading to them facing bans on obtaining visas from embassies due to false documents. The situation demands urgent and decisive action. We cannot afford to remain while our citizens are exploited and their dreams shattered. It is our duty to ensure that every Kenyan seeks opportunities abroad can do so with assurance that their rights and dignity will be upheld. While we recognize the importance of exploitation, of exploring employment opportunities beyond our borders, these opportunities must be legitimate and secure. No Kenyan should be left vulnerable to exploitation in the name of seeking opportunities. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, the government, through relevant agencies such as the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs must intensify enforcement measures in combating these fraudulent actors and ensure that the legitimate channels are used to get overseas employment. Mr. Speaker, I urge all Kenyans to exercise caution and thoroughly verify credibility of any company offering overseas employment opportunities. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. Senator Kathure Murungi.
Honorable Speaker, I have three statements to make. Maybe I can read them simultaneously. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the escalating tension and violence attributed to a land ownership dispute in Kirunyu area in Igembe Central Constituency. In the statement, the committee should, one, investigate the report on the causes of the long-standing land ownership dispute in Kirunyu area of Adiro Rojene Ward in Igembe Central Constituency, Meru County, which has a heightened tension between the disputing parties and resulted in the death of Mr. Morris Kimathi Ntwatingo, ID number 2061144, and Mr. Robert Muidare Mutuma, ID number 34906-980. Number two, provide a status update on investigations with the man of Mr. Ntwatingo and Mr. Mutuma, stating whether any person has been apprehended, charged, and prosecuted. And number three, explain actions taken by the government to quell tension between the disputing parties and to permanently resolve the land ownership dispute. The second statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the ongoing banditry attacks in Igembe North constituency, Meru County, which have claimed the lives of actually 5 residents and 2 police reservists from Amwadi Ward. In the statement, the committee should provide reasons for the persistent banditry attacks despite various promises and assurances from the Ministry of Interior and National Administration to end these menaces and to restore peace to the residents of Meru County. Number two, clarify whether the ministry has assessed the impact of these recurring attacks on the residents, including the disruption of their daily activities and way of life, as well as the socioeconomic, cultural, and political consequences. Number three, state the interventions made by the ministry to support residents affected by the ongoing banditry. And number four, outline the mechanisms being implemented to permanently restore peace and order in the region and to build public confidence in the security apparatus. And the last one, Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the reported cases in Kirangond Ward, in Igembe East Ward, and Igembe East Ward in Igembe Central constituency in Meru County that has caused one death, several injuries, loss of livestock, and destruction of property. In the statement, the committee should, one, investigate the circumstances surrounding the escape of Fondre from the natural habitat, specifically Meru National Park and Ngaya Forest, without the knowledge of the oversight of the Kenya Wildlife Service officers, outlining the measures that have been implemented to address any identifying gaps and prevent similar incidents in the future. And two, state measures the KWS has put in place to mitigate human wildlife conflict in the area, and whether there is any infrastructure in place to facilitate timely reporting of wildlife attacks to KWS, ensuring a rapid response to such incidents. And three, outline measures in place by the State Department of Wildlife to ensure that crimes made by victims of wildlife, human-wildlife conflict are processed efficiently and promptly, compensating allowing victims to restore their livelihoods and return to their usual way of life. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, as I read my statements, my colleague here, Senator Chalege, made a lot of noise. I was like listening to myself. It's only that I could not interrupt my statement, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Fernande, you're cautioned. Senator Gloria Oroba, that statement is dropped. In fact, the two statements, they're dropped. Senator Richard Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Committee of Health regarding the operation and management of Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital in Kisii. Mr. Speaker, sir, there have been numerous reports and allegations indicating mismanagement and systemic failures at Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital, which, if not addressed, could have dire consequences for the management and eventual healthcare providing services to the residents of Kisii. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, I would like the committee to inquire into the allegations of fraudulent practices involving the misuse of Patients' National Hospital Insurance Fund cards at the Teaching and Referral Hospital, and demand an investigation and demand a transparency, accountability, and information pertaining to the truth as to how these cards are being utilized. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I would want the committee to investigate the alleged mistreatment and unlawful transfer of clinical officers at the hospital from one area to another without even consultation or without anybody making a mistake, which has led to the disruption of essential healthcare services, financial mismanagement, and discrimination against all these employees who work in the county health facility. Number three, Mr. Speaker, I would like the committee to examine the audit reports of the hospital's pharmaceutical inventory to determine if the medicines which have been procured and supplied in the hospital have been procured and supplied professionally as is required by the law. Number four, Mr. Speaker, I would like the committee to establish reports that patients at the hospital are being compelled to seek critical medical services in private clinics and health facilities, some of which are linked to individuals within the hospital management at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital. Number five, Mr. Speaker, I would want the committee to investigate the reason behind the deterioration of donor relations with this hospital, particularly with the utilization of the funds which have been provided by these donor funds and donor agencies. Mr. Speaker, the second question I'd like to ask is, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 53 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee of Lands, Environment, and Natural Resources regarding the delayed compensation of landowners whose property was compulsorily acquired for the construction of the Eldoret Bypass Road project. Mr. Speaker, the Kapchorwa, Swam, Kitale, and Eldoret Bypass Road is a project that has been done by a multi-agency and departments of government that provide an important link between Uganda and Kenya. However, Mr. Speaker, the families who owned this land and had acquired it paved way for the project to continue, and as a result, they were offered and informed that they would actually be compensated. Mr. Speaker, that did not happen. I would like, therefore, to make a request that we seek the National Land Commission to make sure that they can explain to the Committee of Lands in this House why these individuals have never been compensated for the last 9 years. This delay has severely disrupted the livelihood of these landowners, causing significant financial strain on the affected families because some of them, Mr. Speaker, moved from their lands where they actually went, bought other land which they were not able to pay the full amounts, and now they're being asked to make sure that they vacate the land which they had bought. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, I would like the committee to investigate claims of undue delay in the compensation of these families around the Eldoret Town Bypass Road project, whose properties were compulsorily acquired. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I would like the committee to explain the reasons for the partial payments to some of the families and leaving out others outside. And I would like the committee to find out the criteria which was used by the National Land Commission in the selection of the individuals to be compensated and confirm whether this was done transparently or otherwise. Number four, Mr. Speaker, I would want the committee to examine allegations that the National Land Commission disobeyed court orders and transferred land to the Kenya National Highways Authority without providing full compensation to the owners who were supposed to be compensated within the law. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the last point, point number 5, I would like the committee to recommend a review of the procedures and advise the committee to recommend and advise on the review of the procedures used by the National Land Commission on the acquisition and compensation of private land to individuals who may not have the capacity to influence or even change the system that is being used right now. Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me that opportunity. Thank you.
Now, honorable senators, for the convenience of the House, and pursuant to Standing Order 45-2, allow me to rearrange the sequence of the order paper. And we do division on DORA. And thereafter, we will resume debate as contained in the order paper. Anything that is on the floor of the House is the debate, Honorable Orova, so stand guided. Yes. What is your intervention, Majority Leader?
I use it. Oh, okay. Mr. Speaker, I have a matter of concern that perhaps you may need to guide us as a House, and maybe you will tell us how you want us to proceed. But I'm aware that there is a matter presently before the National Assembly, which may or may not find its way to the Senate. Previously, there have been findings in court against senators for utterances that they made before the matter got to the Senate. Therefore, I'd wish to request your good office to guide senators on how to conduct themselves in the next few days in relation to that very matter that is before the Assembly. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, because I have seen colleagues, some publicly take positions this way or the other on this matter, yet there's a Court of Appeal decision against one of our colleagues actually here in 2015 on something that they just said about an impeachment proceeding before it got to this House. And the court was able to find that indeed that particular senator was prejudiced even before hearing the matter. Will you perhaps guide us on how to behave, Mr. Speaker, so that we know how to behave, where to go, where not to go, and so many other things, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I will give a communication before the end of the day on this particular matter. It cannot be a point of order, Senator Fernandez. Yes, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, while the issue that has been raised by Majority Leader is of weighty concern, but under the law, there is what we call fair comment. Mr. Speaker, it is judicially noticed that your counterpart in the National Assembly and his deputy have taken a position on the matter that is active before them. So even as you consider your ruling, you should also be able to guide us, because the umpire of the arbiter neutral house, who should be neutral, have already taken a position on that matter. So, Mr. Speaker, even as you rule on it, there is also the principle of access to information, fair comment, and freedom of media. So even some things are judicially noticed that, going by the decision in your Solomonic ruling, should not appear in any way to gag members from giving what we call fair comment, because we have seen people who are senior in Parliament taking certain position, that it might presumptuous that they are thinking and the position they all can affect the outcome and decision that is actively in the matter. So, Mr. Speaker, while that needs to be guided and decision has been made in a court of law, I don't think the intention, the proper reading of the ruling of Supreme Court was not in any way to gag members, but of course to try and avoid the principle of sub judice, as well as in the principle of res judicata in matters that have already been stopped by a court of law and parliament. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We'll consider that in the communication. Yes, Senator Wambo.
So I thank the Speaker, and I've heard what my brother, my colleague, Senator Cheriot, has asked from the chair. The Speaker, my only word is one. We are actually anticipating debate. This matter is not before us. Nobody even knows whether this matter will come before us. As things stand now, we're just hearing things happening in the National Assembly. There is no guarantee that this matter will come before the Senate. The Speaker, the only thing that I would ask you to consider in your direction is the fact that this is a matter that is happening in the public space. And there will be a lot of people, including leaders, addressing themselves to this matter. And as I said, there is nothing in that process so far that anybody can cling on and say, this matter will definitely come before the Senate. That will be determined by the vote in the National Assembly. The Speaker, a space where, and I hope that the Senate will never go down to that level, where a speaker waiting to sit on a matter and the deputy would pronounce themselves on the outcome of a matter. Mr. Speaker, I'm just hoping that one day it will never happen in the Senate, that the Speaker of the Senate or the deputy or members of the panel will ever pronounce themselves on any matter, irrespective of how strongly they feel about that matter. The Speaker, I submit.
Sergeant at Arms, close the door. We will come back to you once we are done with the division. Clerk, proceed to read the two orders.
Order number 8, the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 38 of 2024, Division. Order number 9, the Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 53 of 2023, second reading, Division.
Sergeant at Arms, I'm informed that there could be senators in the lounge wishing to come in. Kindly just ring the bell before you close the door and draw the bar. Ring the bell for 2 minutes. For 2 minutes. Utasoma, wait me back. The majority leader and the minority leader kindly approach the chair. Majority leader and minority leader. Sergeant at times, just ring the bell for further 5 minutes. Order, honorable senators. Sergeant at arms, kindly close the door and draw the bar. Honorable senators, please take your seats. Senator Eddy, take your seat. Now, honorable senators, we are going to defer order number 8. We are going to defer order number 8 until tomorrow. We will proceed with order number 9. Clerk, kindly call that order. So, honorable senators, this is how we're going to proceed. This order had already been called out. It is the Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 53 of 2023. That is the bill that is up for division now. I will ask you to pull out your delegate cards from the units, and then Sergeant at Arms, go around and pick any card that is unattended. Senator Roba, kindly take your seat. Now, honorable senators, I will now put the question. That the Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 53 of 2023 be now read a second time. You may proceed to log back in and vote. Senator Mbugua, you have authority to vote on behalf of Senator Matthews, so you may proceed. Senator Agnes Muthama, kindly proceed to the dispatch and cast your vote. Senator Beatrice Ogola, also proceed to dispatch and cast your vote. Order, honorable senators. Senator Mbugua and Senator Mundigi. So the result of the division is as follows. Ayes 30, nays 0, abstention 0. So the ayes.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Cooperative Societies Act and for connected purposes.
Senator Tams, you may open the door and withdraw the bar. Now, honorable senators will go back to the statements pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. There are two statements that have been dropped. Statements sought by Senator Gloria Oroba. Having given or having explained herself to the satisfaction of the chair, I will allow her to proceed to read her two statements.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise. Mr. Speaker, please protect me from the Deputy Speaker and Cherargei. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding ongoing renovations on government buildings across the country. In the statement, the committee should state government institutions currently undertaking renovations on their buildings, confirming whether the said renovations are part of the said entities' approved work plans for the financial year 2024-2025. Two, disclose the budget allocated for these renovations, stating the specified time frame for each renovation. Three, provide the scope of the renovation works and details of the entities awarded the renovation tenders, stating the contract sum for each tender. And finally, explain the reasons for the renovations, noting the need to adhere to austerity measures and provide timelines for completion of the said renovations. Mr. Speaker, my second statement Mr. Speaker, this is my request for a statement on operations of the social media platform X Corporation, formerly Twitter, in the country. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Information, Communication and Technology concerning the operation of social media platform X Corporation, formerly Twitter, in the country. Recently, Brazil's Supreme Court ordered a nationwide suspension of X social media platform for defying court orders to take down accounts and posts that violate its laws around disinformation, misinformation, and hate speech. Back in Kenya, abuse of social media, including X, to spread disinformation, misinformation, and hate speech continues to be of concern with the proliferation of the internet and social media in the country. Social media has been used to attack innocent persons, including revealing critical information of the victims in violation of the Data Protection Act. This worrying trend should be dealt with urgently to deter the perpetrators. In the statement, the committee should, one, outline the basic guidelines that the Communication Authority of Kenya and the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, ODPC, have laid to ensure that X complies with Kenyan laws and regulations. Two, confirm whether the following social media platforms are registered in Kenya: X, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Three, state the measures in place to ensure victims of abuse of social media have access to customer care services within the country, where they can report the case of misuse of social media perpetrated through social media platforms available in Kenya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Pana Speaker. Request for statement on the asbestos roofing in Gategi, Gaos, Itaraka, Gaos, and Wachoron Boys in Bere South, constituency, Embu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise person to standing under 53-1 to check a statement from the Standing Committee on Lands, Environment, and Natural Resources regarding asbestos roofing in Gategi, Gaos, Itaraka, Gaos, and Wachoron Boys in Bere South constituency, Embu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 28 August 2024, the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate, Change and Forestry, Honorable Anden Duare, directed that the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, remove asbestos roofing from schools and private facilities, citing public health safety concern in directing that within the next 3 months, all public institutions should remove asbestos roofing and disposals of them in line with the NEMA guidelines. In the statement, the committee should, one, explain the measures the Ministry of Environment has put in place to ensure the removal of all the asbestos roofing at Gategi Girls, Itarakan Girls, and Wachoron Boys School in Bere South constituency, Embu County, and provide timelines established by the minister to replace the asbestos roofing in these schools in order to protect students from the dangers associated with asbestos, just as the risk of cancer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Alexander Munyimondigi, Senator for Embu County.
Senator Wakoli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. On the delayed disbursement of capitation funds to technical and vocational education training institutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the delayed disbursement of capitation funds to technical and vocational education training institutions. In the statement, the committee should, one, indicate the budgetary allocation for capitation to technical and vocational education training institutions in the financial years 2023-2024 and 2024-2025, stating the total amount disbursed by the end of the year 2023-2024, as well as the projected capitation per student in each financial year. Two, state when the last disbursement of capitation funds was made to TVET institutions, indicating the period to which the disbursement related. Three, explain the current delay in the disbursement of capitation funds, indicating when TVET institutions should expect to receive their arrears. Four, outline the steps taken by the Ministry of Education to ensure that TVET institutions remain fully operational and continue to pay their workers and suppliers without delay, which in some cases persists for months. And five, state measures put in place by government to ensure that such delays are resolved and do not recur. Senator Wafula Wakoli, Senator for Bungoma County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
The second statement by Senator Wakoli is deferred. Senator for Isiolo County, Senator Fatuma Dulo.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the suspected abduction of Mr. Adan Makona Ali from Dabel area in Marsabit County. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Ali was taken by police officers and held at Moyale Police Station on Sunday, 25th August 2024. Upon the family's visit to the police station the following day, they were informed that he had been released. The family is, however, unable to locate him and fears for his safety and well-being. I therefore request the committee to, one, state the circumstances surrounding the detention and alleged release of Mr. Adan Makona Ali from the Moyale police station on 25th August 2024. Two, outline the actions taken by the police so far to locate Mr. Ali, clarifying whether the National Police Services, NPS, will undertake further investigations into the matter to determine the culpability of police officers in his disappearance, and if so, provide details on the nature of investigations, and 3, explain steps taken by NPS to ensure that similar incidents are not witnessed again in future. For Senator Fatuma Dulo, SBC MP, Senator for Isiolo County.
Senator for Migori County, the Honorable Senator Eddie Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 531 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee of Finance and Budget regarding the status of pending bills accrued by the county government of Migori. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should provide a detailed breakdown of the pending bills accrued by the county government of Migori from the financial year 2013-2014 to date. And Mr. Speaker, they should indicate the nature and current status of payment of each pending bills, the suppliers owed, reasons for the delay in payment, as well as the financial year in which each was accrued. Mr. Speaker, in the statement also, the committee should explain how the county government intends to clear the outstanding pending bills in Migori County. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should also provide a list of all payments processed through the internet banking known as IB platform in the financial year 2024-2025, stating reasons for inordinate delays in finalizing such payments. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should also explain how the county government of Migori has addressed audit queries regarding pending bills highlighted in reports of the Auditor General and the Senate. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should state any measures in place to ensure the timely payment of suppliers of goods and services by the county government of Migori to prevent further accumulation of pending bills in Migori County. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Nandi, Honorable Samson Chirange.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Request for statement on the status of the National Agricultural and Rural Inclusive Growth Project, NARIC, projects in Nandi County. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the statement, I raise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries on the status of National Agriculture and Rural Inclusive Growth Program, NARIC, projects in Nandi County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the total amount disbursed by the World Bank to the Nandi County government to fund agricultural projects under National Agricultural and Rural Inclusive Growth Project, NARIC. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, provide a breakdown of the total funds allocated and disbursed by the county government, specifying how the funds were utilized across the 4 identified NARIC projects that comprise farming in dairy, poultry, avocados, and potatoes. So Speaker, number 3, indicate the location of the potato farms where the harvested produce is stored and the income generated so far from potato farming in Nandi County under NARIC. So Speaker, number 4, explain why the county government deviated from the World Bank's requirement that the farms being developed should be those owned by local farmers, instead implementing the projects on government-owned farms like Kaimosi FTC. Mr. Speaker, number 5, clarify why Kenya shillings 100 million allocated for commercial water projects and Kenya shillings 130 million, the commercial water project in Kabiet Ward, and Kenya shillings 130 million
allocated for the coffee cherry fund were diverted to Kabie Dairies project, which already been sufficiently funded by various funders, stating the total amount spent on the dairy project and explain why it has not been completed up to date more than 5 years since inception of the Kabie Dairies project. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Senator Beatrice Ogola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. This is request for statement on claims of unfair labor practices at Sukari Industries in Dewa Sub-County, Homa Bay County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding claims of unfair labor practices at Sukari Industries in Dewa Sub-County, Homa Bay County. In the statement, the committee should, one, state the number of drivers in the company who are mandated to collect, transport, cane, and how many hours they work per day. Two, explain whether they are compensated for the extra hours whenever they work overtime, in line with the Employment Act 207, and whether such overtime hours worked comply with the Section 27 of the said Act. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, investigate whether the longer working hours might be the reason for rampant accidents involving Sukari industry trailers transporting sugarcane, and whether the workers are allowed at least one rest day in every 7-day period, regardless of weekends or public holidays as stipulated in Section 27(2) of the Employment Act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Hezana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this is a request for a statement on the status of the Yamo Dam in Maralal Township in Samburu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment, and Natural Resources regarding the status of the Yamo Dam in Maralal Township in Samburu County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Yamo Dam project, initiated in 2019 by the Northern Water Works Development Agency, was designed to provide clean and safe water to at least 6,000 households in Maralal Town and its surrounding areas. The first phase, which involved constructing a dam with a capacity of 1.2 million cubic meters, completed by March 2023. The second phase, involving the construction of a water treatment plant, requires an additional 1.5 billion, which is expected to be allocated by the government for its completion. In the statement, the committee should, one, provide an update on the current status of the project, including whether it has been completed, handed over, its current maintenance status, and water levels. Secondly, establish whether the dam has successfully alleviated the challenges of access to clean and adequate water for the residents of Samburu County. And thirdly, state the measures put in place to permanently resolve the recurring water shortages in Samburu County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B, the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism.
A statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism, pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B for the period between April to August 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism for the second quarter of the third session, covering the period between April to August 2024. During the period under review, the committee held 32 sittings, during which it considered 8 statements, 1 petition, and 4 bills. The committee also undertook 1 report retreat in Machakos County and considered the schedule of amendments from the National Assembly on the County Licensing Uniform Procedure Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022. Attached at this statement is a schedule of legislative business considered by the committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, during this period, the committee concluded the report on the 3 bills. 1, A, the Street Vendors Protections and Livelihood Bill, Senate Bill number 41 of 2023. B, the Cooperative Society Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 53 of 2023. And C, the Schedule of Amendment of the County Licensing Uniform Procedure Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022. The bill was assented by the President on the Thursday, 27th June 2024. The committee held a consultative meetings with the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industrialization on the legislative business under the ministry. The committee also invited the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of East African Community on the arid and semi-arid lands, the regional development, to respond on statement statements committed to the committee. The committee also considered a petitions concerning allegation fraudulent dealings with Diageo East African Breweries Limited, EABL, Kenya Breweries and UDV, Kenya, and has met with the petitioner, managing director of EABL, the competition authority, and the Capital of Market Authority to gain insight into the petition. The committee, in the final phase of stakeholders' engagement before concluding the adopting of the report for tabling to the Senate. As a part of its capacity building, the committee participated in the 7th KIPRA Annual Regional Conference that took place from 26th to 28th June 2024 in Kisumu County, a theme as the future of industrialization in Kenya, pathways to industrialized in the bottom-up economic transformations agenda. The forum enhanced the capacity of the committee on the status and opportunities for industrialization in Kenya, as in the legislative interventions required from the Senate. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the consideration of the statements, the committee observed that there was an increasing number of statements pending before it that required the attention of the relevant cabinet secretary in persons. However, due to the recent changes in the government, the cabinet secretary were not available. The committee also therefore scheduled to invite the substantive cabinet secretary following the reconstruction of the cabinet to appraise the committee on the status of the pending statements related to the specific matters or mandates. The committee will prioritize the finalizations of these pending statements on this legislative business before it. The committee will continue with its insight on the counties through scheduled county oversight inspections and networking visits to publish engagements or to public engagements to ensure continued implementations of programs and legislative business within its mandate. In particular, the committee will visit the county aggregated industrial parks, tourism, facilities, and markets in the counties. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, I wished to thank the office and the office of the clerk of the Senate for the support according to the committee in its work in executing on executing its mandate. Lastly, I also wish to thank the members of the committee for the diligence and contributions during the committee activities and the committee secretariats for their facilitative responsibility. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next is the report from the chairperson, Select Committee on County Public Accounts. Yes, Vice Chair. Senator Chalagai Samson Kiprotich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm reading on behalf of the chairperson, Senator Moses Kajwang, who is away on official parliamentary duties. And Mr. Speaker, we are enjoying cordial relationship between my chair and vice, unlike what is happening in the country. Statement, statement relating to the activities of the Senate County Sounding Public Accounts Committee, pursuant to Standing Order 56-1B for the period commencing April to September 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1 to make a statement on the activities of the County Public Accounts Committee for the period commencing April to September 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 40 meetings. Mr. Speaker, sir, 40 meetings. Mr. Speaker, sir, during, Mr. Speaker, and you need to protect me from the minority whip. In fact, this is their committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee observed that most counties have consistently failed to meet their own source revenue, OSR, targets in all the fiscal years since the start of devolution. Counties have the potential to generate approximately 200 billion in own source revenue from various streams. The county government budget implementation review report for the financial year 2022-2023 by the Office of the Controller of Budget indicates that the county governments raised 37.8 billion, way below from 200 billion projected by CRA from their sources of revenue, accounting for 65.9% of the annual target of 57.37 billion Kenya shillings, Mr. Speaker, sir. So, Speaker, sir, it is for this reason that the committee plans to conduct a special audit on revenue collection, starting with Nairobi, Kiambu, and Narok counties. The committee plans to undertake this process in partnership with national, and I hope the Senator of Narok would have sat down to listen to this. The committee plans to undertake this process in partnership with National Treasury, since they have led a role as outlined in Section 12E of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 that states that the National Treasury should, among others, design and prescribe an efficient financial statement system for the national and county governments to ensure transparent financial management and standard financial reporting as contemplated by Article 226 of the Constitution. So, Mr. Speaker, we shall do special audit to 3 counties. That is Nairobi, because we have been hearing the governor saying his own things, but on the grounds things are different. Narok, because of the Narok National Park, we want to do special audit. And Kiambu, where you have more than 5 service providers for revenue collections. We want to know what is cooking or what is happening over there. So, Speaker, during the period, the committee noted that most of the counties were processing payments of salaries outside the integrated payroll and personnel database, IPBD, Mr. Speaker. A number of counties, including Nandi, we were able to establish with a scandal of happening of labor in Nandi, Mr. Speaker, which is forming the basis of impeachment of Governor Sang, Mr. Speaker, including even hiring the mother and close relatives, Mr. Speaker. Most of them were being paid through IPPD or payment vouchers, Mr. Speaker. Even Kilifi, we have Manuel, even Vihiga, even Migori, Kitui, Mombasa, Lamu, and even Narok, Mr. Speaker, a number of them, even Meru. Meru is worse. I think they are paying it outside IPPD to ensure the side effects of what transpired in this house, Mr. Speaker. We know that the process of issuance, and I would appeal to members that my office, as the office of the Vice Chairperson of County Public Accounts Committee, is always open to share such information with members. Of course, in consultation with my chair, in no way insubordinating or usurping his powers. So, Speaker, this personal file numbers is inefficient and plans to engage the national government, State Department of Public Service, Mr. Speaker, and public service continue to do audit or human resource audit in counties. We would want to know the amount they are being paid and the reports and the number of counties that Public Service Commission do human resource audit. The latest being Nandi, we want to know how much was being used. So, Speaker, you can find in April 2023, the workers were 3,000. In April 2024, the workers are 5,000, a growth of 1,500 ghost workers. To prescribe, and we have to COG to prescribe, design an efficient human resource management system to be used by counties through COG. Mr. Speaker, to eliminate human resource related complexities in counties, the committee pursuant to Article 235 of the Constitution of Kenya has directed the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs, develops regulations to provide guidance and clarity to county governments on engagement of casual employees, contracted workers, acting positions, and development of progressive platform for management of county human resource. Colleagues, you have to agree with me that most counties are struggling with labor crisis, and it must be addressed, Mr. Speaker. We were able to establish in Tarakaniti, Mr. Speaker, that the governor had what we call road marshals that were being hired to maintain roads. Mr. Speaker, I'm just stating what is on my report, Senator Ledama Olekina. I'm not debating, I'm just stating what is on the report. I'm giving an example. I'm not debating, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chelagai, Vice Chair, County Public Accounts.
Yes, Mr.
Who
Speaker.
are you answering? Because I give you permission.
Okay, I should proceed. Sorry, I stand guided, Mr. Speaker. I was using, for example, on this issue of human resource. For example, like Tarakanidi, they had what we call road marshals in pretext of road marshals, but they are the governor's goods, Mr. Speaker, and we established during our hearing. So there's crisis in issues of labor, including even Vihiga. Mr. Speaker, sir, number 6, the committee also observed there was rampant voiding of payments by county governments. The approved cash plans by control of budget are not adhered, contrary to Section 22 of the COB Act 2016. The committee recommends the controller of budget to institute mechanisms to enforce compliance of approved cash plans by counties to avoid this what we call rampant voiding payments, Mr. Speaker. And I hope members knows what voiding means. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the interrogation of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the financial year 2021-2022 and election period, the committee observed that some county entities did not submit or made late submissions of the relevant documents or provided false or misleading information to the Auditor General during the audit exercise, contrary to Section 62 of the Public Audit Act 2015. The Speaker, on this during election period, we found that people were doing voiding payments even 2 days before the election in August. They were voiding payments, Mr. Speaker, and I think members should note this. Following an engagement with the Auditor General, the committee shall consider introducing amendments to Section 196 and 197 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and Section 62 of the Public Audit 2015 to include administrative sanctions to individuals to not provide information. Mr. Speaker, it's worth noting to the committee that ISPAC members who are provide information, ISPAC, Mr. Speaker, they are taken what we call cross-professional misconduct and they are removed by the ISPAC, Mr. Speaker. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to thank members of the committee profoundly, including yours truly, for attending more than 40 committee meetings, Mr. Speaker. It's not easy, and it needs hard-working members who work tirelessly, Mr. Speaker. And the dedicated secretariat, courtesy of your office, that usually sit for long hours. Mr. Speaker, we have sat on Mondays, we sit from 8 to 6 p.m. in the evening, transacting serious businesses, because we want to ensure the financial audit review. Mr. Speaker, the committee, it is important I say this. We are trying, Mr. Speaker, to look at the financial years of the sitting governors. For example, in Narok, we are considering financial year 2022-2023 because we don't want to be morticians. We want to be objective, Mr. Speaker. The committee will use various strategies, including subcommittees and merger of financial years to shift to a more proactive mandate and to ensure the Senate current in its intervention. Mr. Speaker, with those very remarks, I thank you and I beg to lay them.
Vice Chair, next time, because your committee is actually our mandate as senators, is domiciled in your committee oversight, and also to check whether money that we give counties every year, like the discussion we had here this afternoon, we're going to exchange notes on the way forward. Maybe in the future when we wish to get report county by county, not lump sum. County, the 40 meetings, you know, cannot be on one piece of paper like this. 40 meetings. If you examine only 10 accounts for 40 meetings, then you cannot just bring a paper and then give us as a report for all the 47 counties. So we need a report with just details of every county, what has not been done in those specific counties. So I think you can do better than that. Yes, 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I think what I can say, while I stand guided through your secretariat, we normally table reports. And in those reports, we give directions and recommendations. But I'm happy we'll try and do a summary version of each and every county. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, but I stand guided.
Thank you. There is a statement by the Standing Committee, Chairperson, Standing Committee on Loans, Transportation and Housing. That report is defunct. And then there is the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources. Maybe the chairman has delegated to a member of the committee, no? If not, you also defer that statement. So we go to the next order. Oh, no, there is a statement by the Chair Finance and Budget. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you very much for this opportunity. This is a statement concerning the disbursement of funds to county governments in the present circumstance where there has been a delay in the enactment of County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1A of the Standing Orders of the Senate to make a statement on the disbursement of funds to county governments in the present circumstance where there has been delay in the enactment of County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2024. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Division of Revenue Act, DORA, number 7 of 2024, was assented to on 10th of June 2024 and came into effect on 25th of June 2024. The Act divides nationally raised revenue between the two levels of government. The County Allocation of Revenue Bill, Senate Bills number 25 of 2024, was passed by Parliament on the 25th of June 2025 and transmitted to the President for assent. In accordance with Article 115(1)(b) of the Constitution, the President referred the bill back to Parliament with reservation. Parliament is yet to consider the president's reservation, and therefore the county allocation of revenue bill has not been enacted yet. Mr. Speaker, sir, the county allocation of revenue bill divides among the counties the revenue allocated to the county level of government on the basis determined in accordance with the resolutions in force under Article 217 of the Constitution. Therefore, the law contemplates that the allocation of nationally raised revenue is effected through the two-step process: vertical sharing of revenue between the two levels of government through Division of Revenue Act, and horizontal division of revenue between the 47 counties through the County Allocation of Revenue Act. With respect to the financial year 2024-2025, the first is complete as there is Division of Revenue Act in force. However, the second step is in abeyance as the County Allocation of Revenue Bill has not been enacted into law. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a result of this, the National Treasury has not made any transfers to counties of their share of nationally raised revenue. The delay in disbursement of county share of nationally raised revenue has paralyzed county governments, impeded their ability to discharge their their functions, and is likely to lead to devastating consequences in crucial areas such as service delivery in health sector and other sectors. Mr. Speaker, sir, following a request by the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on possible remedies to fund the counties while waiting passage of the County Allocation of Revenue Bill, the National Treasury and Economic Planning, through a letter dated 5th of August 2024, indicated that there are possible remedies for counties to access a certain percentage of equitable share pending the passage of County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2024. The National Treasury indicated that there exists a court opinion in an advisory opinion number 3 of 2019 and the provisions of Regulation 134.1, which allow the control of budget to authorize withdrawals of up to 50% from the consolidated fund based on last County Allocation of Revenue Act approved by Parliament for purpose of meeting the expenditure of the county government for financial year, for the current financial year. Mr. Speaker, sir, further, during the meeting held on 16th of September 2024, with the National Treasury, Economic Planning, the Cabinet Secretary indicated that the National Treasury was ready to avail some funds to counties in order to facilitate them meet non-discretionary monthly expenditures such as salaries. However, the National Treasury had requested for an advisory opinion from the Office of the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, sir, Regulation 134 of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulations 2015 provides that if the County Allocation of Revenue Bill submitted to Parliament for a financial year has not been approved by Parliament or is not likely to be approved by Parliament by the beginning of the financial year, the control of budget may authorize withdrawals of up to 50% from the consolidated fund based on the last County Allocation of Revenue Act approved by Parliament for purpose of meeting the expenditure of the county government for the financial year. Further, in Supreme Court Advisory Opinion number 3 of 2019, the court had occasion to consider the question of allocating revenue to the county governments where enactment of DORA has been delayed and made the following findings: that should an impasse occur due to the failure of mediation process occasioned by the lack of concurrence between the two houses over the division of revenue bill and the National Assembly for the purpose of meeting the expenditure necessary to carry out the services of county government during that year until such a time Division of Revenue Act is assented to, can authorize the withdrawal of money from consolidated fund. The monies so withdrawn shall be included under separate votes for the several services in respect of which they are withdrawn. It is to be expected that each county assembly would have to readjust their respective budget and appropriation bills accordingly. And B, the percentage of money to be withdrawn be based on equitable allocation to counties in the Division of Revenue Act of the preceding financial year. In keeping with the spirit of Article 2222B of the Constitution, the money to be withdrawn shall be 50% of the total equitable share allocated to counties in the Division of Revenue Act. Mr. Speaker, sir, the opinion of the court as set out as shared was premised on the fact that Article 2221 of the Constitution provides an avenue for the continuation of national government business where Appropriation Act has not been assented to. The Constitution could not countenance that there would be any remedy for county government to assess a percentage of national raised revenue to avoid paralysis in service delivery at the counties. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, while the advisory opinion number 3 of 2019 dealt with the question of transfers to counties in the event of a delay in enactment of Division of Revenue Bill, the conclusion arrived at by the court supports provision of Regulation 134.1 that the counties must access a percentage of nationally raised revenue in the event of delay in passage of any one of the legal requirements to facilitate that. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee is privy to an advisory that has been rendered by the Attorney General to the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, dated 20th of September 2024, in which the Attorney General canvasses the provisions of Regulation 134.1 of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulation 2015 and advisory opinion number 3 of 2019 and advises the National Treasury as follows: that the applicable law that would allow the disbursement of equitable share to the counties is Regulation 134.1 of the Public Finance Management National Government Regulation 2015. Both Regulations 134.1 and Supreme Court Advisory Opinion number 3 of 2019 provides the same remedy for disbursement of up to 50% of the total equitable share to county governments in the absence of County Allocation of Revenue Act. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the light of these provisions of the law canvassed in this statement, the Committee on Finance and Budget has written to the National Treasury and the Control of Budgets to direct, as a matter of utmost urgency, the authorization and withdrawal of up to 50% from the Consolidated Fund based on the last County Allocation of Revenue Act approved by Parliament for the purpose of meeting expenditure for the county government for the financial year. I thank you, signed, Senator Ali Ibrahim Robert, Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget, and the party leader of UDM. Thank you very much.
I'll give one or two senators to make a brief comment on that statement. Senator Olekina Redama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by thanking the distinguished senator from Mandera for being very diligent in ensuring that our counties get what is theirs. This Senate, Mr. Speaker, if I remember very well, passed the Division of Revenue Bill, passed the CARA, and the only thing we're waiting for is for the president to assent to CARA. I held an earlier consultation with the chair of finance. The only point that I could see that we are differing is that we already have DORA, which has already been assented to. So the advisory given by the Attorney General is sound, but I still feel like even that advisory came short of saying the Senate, Parliament, the National Assembly, and the Senate have already passed a law. You cannot bring an argument and say that now because you want to amend a law, you stop operating with the existing law. So, Mr. Speaker, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Finance really ought to just follow the law and ensure that money is sent to counties. You know, we cannot say we are now setting everything in abeyance until we have a new amended DORA. In fact, this is going to be the first time that people are going to amend DORA. I've sat here, we've never amended DORA. You know, we passed CARA. CARA was passed by the National Assembly. It was just waiting for it to be ascended. So surely, we cannot be sitting here and actually even entertaining a debate of amending DORA. You know, the earlier debate that we had here when that order was called is because we know that this house passed DORA and the law is in existence. So I don't even know why the finance committee entertained having these businesses of saying, let us use regulation 134 of the, yet there's an existing act of parliament. So, you know, that is the only challenge we have. The only challenge we have, Mr. Speaker. And this is where now we have to argue and to see what will befit us. Is one, asking ourselves whether as the law, the constitution, I believe it's Article 217 or 207 if I'm not wrong, where the share of revenue for the county government shall be released without undue delay or any deduction. Since we passed and we agreed to send 400,001 billion to our counties, if we're having a problem, a shortfall, Mr. Speaker, I don't believe that we are losing the 400 billion. This is going to be now the third quarter or the second quarter. Why don't we release money, and then in the process, if this House and the National Assembly agree to amend DORA, then the money can be reduced. So, Mr. Speaker, apart from arguing that we should use the previous DORA and the previous CARA and also the previous cash disbursement schedule as the law envisioned, let us continue applying the existing law that we passed so that we don't ground our counties to a halt. And you know what is so hypocritical, Mr. Speaker, is that currently the national government is continuing with its own programs. But our county governments are at halt because there's no money being sent to the county governments. So, Mr. Speaker, in summary, I want to beseech my colleagues.
Senator Olechina, I request the two senators standing between the chair and the member contributing to learn very fast to your seats. Continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for protecting me. So, Mr. Speaker, I think this statement does not require us really to beg. This statement, it should be really a directive to the Ministry of Finance that the law is there. Use the law. We are trying to correct everything. I know there was a problem with the Finance Act, but we should not just be looking at the raising mechanism, but we should also be looking at the expenditure on the other side. So if already there's a law that says send money to counties, send the money to counties. I remember we've been agonizing on this, but I hope that today, when the Cabinet Secretary for Finance appeared before here, he demonstrated that he has got the capacity to be able to lead that department. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on this issue of pending bills that my brother has brought about, I'm happy that you, in your chair, you gave directions, and I hope that we can include that issue of Migori in the existing motion that we passed, that your chair gave a directive that I think in the next week, the Cabinet Secretary will be coming here to be able to respond to that. Otherwise, I thank you.
Thank you. Any other member commenting on this report should use less than 3 minutes. Senator Chalagay.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know what your secretariat or the legal department led by Dr. Okello were advising the Finance and Budget Committee. Mr. Speaker, you know why? Because we have a law already that we had passed. So the argument of Finance Committee should be based on Division of Revenue Act 2024, which had been assented by the President alongside the Appropriation Act, which was later amended by the National Assembly after the collapse of Finance Bill 2024. So when you say you want to allocate 50% of the allocation, it should be with the Act of 2022-2025, not the previous act that, Mr. Speaker, we did pass the DORA here. And that is why today, Mr. Speaker, members were hesitant in proceeding with the second reading of the same amendment of the act that is in existence in place, because we wanted to ensure that we reject this amendment and retain at 401 billion as we had agreed, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say and be very clear that while I agree under Article 219, in fact, the National
Senator
Treasury, Mr.
Chelagai,
Speaker,
Senator
Mr. Speaker, the
Chelagai,
National
the Chair of
Treasury under
Finance,
Article 219
listen.
is very critical, Mr.
Senator
Speaker.
Chelagai, when I'm speaking to you,
You know, I'm looking at the time that you have
no,
given
not
us.
mind about the time.
Okay.
Do you want to be informed by the chair budget? Okay. Then he is not interested, chair. It's okay. Proceed.
Speaker, Mr. Speaker, under Article 219, it says money shall be dispersed without undue delay. I expected the Finance and Budget Committee to issue a cutting and an indictment against the Ministry of National Treasury for not releasing money. They should release money as approved by the DORA that we passed in 2022 or 2025. And then now when we, in case, but we are not going to amend for free, that is, we are not going to amend that act. We will ensure that it's only 401 billion that will go to counties. And we are not about to budge about that, Mr. Speaker. That is what I wanted. So in fact, this matter, even courts, if you take this matter before even a district magistrate court, DM1, will tell you this is basic. The law is in place, Mr. Speaker. Finally, on the issue of pending bills in Migori, I'm disappointed that, Mr. Speaker, when you are being owed by Migori County government, those people who have been given priority to be paid, you must give 30% to some of the senior officials within the county government of Migori. Mr. Speaker, and that is why even the governor of Migori has declined to appear tomorrow, Mr. Speaker, because he knows these are some of the serious issues of pending bills that he's facing in Migori County, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we shall not allow. There are many people who have pressure, diabetes in Migori County because they use their resources to provide services and goods to Migori County government. Mr. Speaker, in line with our resolution of on payment of pending bills that we did adopt, Mr. Speaker, they should be paid immediately.
Senator Sosi.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me start by thanking the Chair of Finance for the focus on matters to do with the division of revenue and disbursement of funds to the counties. Mr. Speaker, this Senate is very crucial in devolution, as stipulated in Article 96 of the Constitution. But we need to get concerned as a Senate that we should not just pass money that goes to counties, but we must also ensure that our counties get timely disbursement. Mr. Speaker, it defeats the purpose of us every year passing the cash disbursement schedule with the clear amounts, clear dates, and then just someone seated in Treasury who is not representing the people of Kenya decides when to send the money and when not to send the money. I think that really indicates us as senators that there is something that we are not doing right. And I want to ask, I wish the chair, the finance committee people who are conversing there could listen to me, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
Vice Chair Finance and Senator Eddie, have your seats.
I want to believe that the finance committee, which is chaired by the able Senator for Mandera and the Vice Chair Mutinda, it is within their mandate to ensure that the moment we have a late disbursement of funds to counties, they need to rise up, summon the CS for Treasury, summon all the people involved, and find out why our counties are not getting the money. If there is a good reason, the committee knows what to do. If there is no valid reason, the committee should enforce and ensure that this ministry disburses money to our counties. It is painful that our counties can stay 3-4 months without any money. People are not earning salaries, while national government employees are earning. Mr. Speaker, I've just seen on my phone that Kiambu doctors are on strike because they have not earned July, August salaries. Mr. Speaker, these are problems that we expect the Finance Committee working with us as a Senate to ensure that our counties receive money in time.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to quickly comment on the statement by Senator Roba on social media platform. Mr. Speaker, when you read this statement, clearly it tells you that there is a gap in the management of the Data Protection Act and the regulation in this country. I think it's a high time that this parliament call to order the Office of the Data Protection. I do not think they're doing adequate work to protect Kenyans who have continued to suffer.
Thank you. Senator Wamatinga. Wahome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to contribute on the statement that has been tabled by the chair of the Finance Committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, indeed, we passed the law on dollar. And we are readers who knows that the country has been going through very challenging situation. I think, Mr. Speaker, sir, on the issue of disbursement of fund, there's no discussion around it, Mr. Speaker. It must be timely as envisaged to allow the county governments to be able to plan. But in the same breath, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is also the responsibility of the county governors to be in tandem, working in tandem with the executive so that the projections that are there can be aligned to the allocations. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would want to commend the governor of Nyeri County because since he took power, we've not had strikes because of unpaid wages. I would also want to commend him, Mr. Speaker, because he's one of the few governors who've managed to sort out the issue of pending bills. Why, Mr. Speaker? It is a question of setting out the right priorities, knowing what money to allocate where, and knowing what money to spend at what time. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not lost to us as senators that our role to do oversight in the county government and the expenditure of resources have been very heavily hampered by the fact that we are underfunded and, to say the least, Mr. Speaker, that our functionality as oversight people has not been quite effective because of inadequate facilitation. But Mr. Speaker, sir, we as the leaders of this country, we are not lost that this country, like many other countries globally, have been going through a lot of challenges. One of the things that is called, Mr. Speaker, for readers is to sit down and see the situation as it is and adjust correspondingly. Mr. Speaker, sir, some counties, they have huge pending bills, not because they do not get their disbursement timely, but because they set their priorities right. It is known, Mr. Speaker, that once a new governor is elected, he does not give priority as it's supposed to be to the first charge, that is the pending bill, but they take advantage to give their friends, their colonies, their preferred contractors and suppliers contracts so that they can be able to make some money. Mr. Speaker, sir, if we address the issue of governance alongside the issue of disbursement of funds, and we ensure that the money that has been disbursed is also expanded, used prudently, we will not only cure the problem we have with the pending bills, we will also ensure that no employee goes unpaid because it is a question of priority. Mr. Speaker, sir, it does not come as a surprise to see governments in the county and also at the national level repairing roads and buildings while wages remains unpaid.
Senator Hedy Okech.
Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of Finance and Budget Committee, and with the spirit of concerns that are kindly put forward by the Senator of Nandi, Senator Chirargei, and the Senator of Vihiga, Senator Sotsi, that perhaps the Chair of Finance and Budget, together with the Vice Chair, and I think that also goes to the members of that committee, might not be keen on the disbursement schedules that are supposed to come to the counties, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to comment on the statement read by the chair of the committee and just make some few clarities, knowing very well that the chair of Finance and Budget, Mr. Speaker, is one of the biggest thorn in flesh of the treasury, who calls the treasury all the time to make sure that the money comes to counties. And when the chair is not there for any official reasons, the vice chair, capably so, also fights so hard. Mr. Speaker, DORA has got no any functionality to be able to ensure that the treasury can be able to give us money. We passed DORA to be able to determine the money shared between national government and county governments. It stops there. The instruments which we start to get money for which the law then can be anchored on is CARA, Mr. Speaker. And CARA, basically, for the understanding of Senator Cherargei and the understanding of Senator Osotsi, CARA is then the bill that then helps us to be able to define what counties get among themselves of the shareable revenue between the national government and the county government. But CARA last year was not passed, so it's still a lacuna in law. And so the schedule has also not been passed. That is why the advisory had to come in place to be able to help solve that lacuna in law. So there is no reason whatsoever to indicate to the public that there is any instrument that can be able to use to take monies to counties. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to comment very quickly on the statement by Senator Cherargei and indicate that, Mr. Speaker, we must find a methodology and a way to be able to audit and be able to query any kind of audit queries by any donors who are dealing directly with counties, because otherwise counties end up losing money, such as what we are seeing in Nandi, that is also happening in other counties for projects that are directly funded by donors.
Next on.
Order number 10, motion, report of the joint sittings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning of the National Assembly and the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget of the Senate on approval hearing of Mr. David Kibet Kemei, nominee for appointment to the position of Director General of the Competition Authority.
Who was on the floor? Yeah, Senator Mulu, and a balance of 11 minutes. So since he's not in, so we get next interested senator, Senator Mbueno.
Thank you, the Speaker. Let me confirm from the desk that I have 20 minutes, right? 20 minutes, yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to make a few comments on the report of the joint sitting of the National Assembly, Committee on Finance, and the Senate Committee on Finance on the approval hearing for Mr. David Kibet Kemei for the position of Director General of the Competition Authority of Kenya. As Speaker, I want to begin by saying that the Competition Authority of Kenya is a very important body for any developing country, for any country with whose economy is under transition, for countries that want to ensure fair play in the marketplace. And so, as a Speaker, it is for that reason, in the wisdom of Parliament, that the Competition Act was passed, and then the Act Cap 504, the one then that creates the position of DG. Mr. Speaker, the Director General of the Competition Authority of Kenya is charged with very serious responsibilities. Key among them is to ensure, put in place measures to ensure effective competition across all markets to stop misleading market conduct throughout Kenya and generally to protect the welfare of the Kenyan people and Kenyan business people and investors from outside the country who are pursuing fair play in the marketplace. The Speaker, the protection of farmers, the protection of consumers, the protection of business people, all these, Speaker, when looked at keenly, fall under the purview of the Competition Authority. As well as Speaker, it is expectation of all players in the marketplace that the person or the character of the Director General of Competition Authority must be in a position to ensure that fair play. Protect us, the Speaker, and the business community from middlemen and barons and people who take and businesses that take advantage of their privileged positions in the market to exploit and push other people, other players from the marketplace. The Speaker, I am looking at a situation where then it will be expected that the Director General of the Competition Authority will ensure that we don't have rogue business people who want to use shortcuts to ensure that they get unfair advantage in the marketplace. So, Speaker, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because, the Speaker, the Chief Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, wrote to Parliament proposing the name of David Kibet Kemei to take the position of Director General of the Communication Authority of Kenya. Now, in that letter alone, Mr. Speaker, I realized serious issues with the letter. First of all, in the mind of the CS and its officers, for them, the National Assembly means Parliament. And yet the law is very clear that when you talk about Parliament, reference must be made to both the National Assembly and the Senate. But that notwithstanding, the Speaker, is that having looked at the report, I have realized that the committees, the joint committee of the National Assembly and the Senate wrote to various organizations, including the KRA, the DCI, the Office of the Higher Education Loans Board, ORPP, ESCC. They wrote letters seeking clearance for one David Kibet Kemei for them to approve the appointment to the position of DG Competition Authority of Kenya. Now, I've looked at those letters, Mr. Speaker, and I've realized that the letter that came from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Authority has raised serious issues about Mr. Kemei. ESCC has said that Mr. Kemei, alongside other board members of the Kenya Medical Training College, sat and approved a wrongful recruitment of the KMTC Corporation Secretary in 2015. And when the matter went to court, Mr. Speaker, it was determined that the occupant of the position, who was irregularly recruited, had earned over 23 million Kenya shillings, and a decision was taken that the board members then should be surcharged to recover that money. Mr. Speaker, there must be a reason why the Joint Committee was writing to these institutions. It is to get information to help them make a decision. But here's the situation, Mr. Speaker, that information is received from the ESCC, which information makes a contribution to an adverse report on the candidate, but the committee is still asking us to approve that name. The Speaker, I have a problem with that. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, in the recruitment process of the Director General of the Competition Authority of Kenya, the authority gave a local management consulting firm a job to do the recruitment for the new DG for them. Now, that firm shortlisted 30 candidates, Mr. Speaker. In the rating of the firm, the independent firm that had been retained by the Competition Authority of Kenya to recruit a DG for them, Mr. Kemei was ranked number 29 with a 60% score. Mr. Speaker, the Competition Authority of Kenya undertook to interview the 30 shortlisted candidates by the local management company or consultancy. And interestingly, Mr. Kemei scored 87% and was ranked number 2. The Speaker, the scoring and the recruitment of a person at the level of Director General, though it can get subjective, the Speaker, there's definitely tools that are used for this kind of recruitments, and so the disparity would not be that big. I mean, you cannot score 60% in one set of interviews for the same position, and then the next set, you're scoring 87%. Mr. Speaker, the third issue that I have with this recommendation by the committee, Mr. Speaker, there is no formula. There is absolutely no formula for people to write their CVs. There is absolutely no formula. People can do their CVs the way they want to do their CVs. But there are some common denominators in every curriculum vitae. And top on that list would be the full names of the person. And secondly, without a doubt, would be the year of birth. Wameamua, born October 31st, 1972. The Speaker, when you look at the CV that Mr. Kemei has given to the committees, the Joint Committee, you realize that, Mr. Speaker, that yes, the detail Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I take note of the changeover. So the detail of the name is there. And then he jumped straight to his profession and says he has 31 years of experience. I have scanned through that CV, Mr. Speaker. There is nowhere that Mr. Kemei indicates the year of birth. Mr. Speaker, I've said on the floor of this House many times, I want to repeat it. I am a journalist of good and long standing. And one of the characteristics of a good journalist is to have the capacity to identify the story that is not being told. The Speaker, before I can take a vote on this matter, I would want to know the year of birth of one David Kibet Kemei. Because my fear is perhaps actually Mr. Kibet could be over 60 years of age. In which case then, according to our own labor laws, and I have seen the Senate Committee on Labor Relations summoning governors and demanding a list of all county employees complete with their years of birth to know whether county governments are retaining people in office who are over 60 years of age. As a Speaker, I would want to see that year of birth so that, again, we can determine the age of one Kemei to be sure that we are not recruiting a DG who is overage for the position as required by the law. The Speaker, I say this because just the other day, my driver, Juan Gulemutoa, upon reaching 60 years of age, he had to disengage with the PSC because that's the law. There cannot be that there are some people at some cadres who will have to exit public service, and then the others who, for whatever privileges, are joining the public service or continue to serve after they are 60 years of age. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, still looking at the CV laid before the Senate by the Joint Committee, I said this is a very important national office. There have been conversations, loud conversations, about the origin or where certain people holding certain offices come from. It is a requirement of the law and the Constitution, the Speaker, that a fair distribution of government positions be seen to be happening so that it is not just people from certain places who get certain jobs and other people from other places cannot get those jobs. Now, Speaker, when I looked at the CV of one Kemei, a serious Kenyan with a lot of experience in Kenya, UK, all over, all manner of positions, chairman of board, director, lecturer, a person that has interacted with really the world. This is a citizen of the world. It is difficult. I mean, it would be unfair to want to place Kemei among a certain community in this country. He is supposed to be a person that is able to reach out and serve with anyone and with everyone. But when I looked at the CV, I was grossly disappointed, Mr. Speaker. And for me, I always say, and I will repeat it again, the devil is in the detail. When you look at the referees, the references that Mr. Kemei gives, then you wonder, surely then what is this? Yeah? Kemei, his first reference, Simon Chelugoi. Second reference, Farida Korone. Third reference, Kip Korilbet. A world citizen seeking to be the DG of a national authority, reducing himself to the level of just a village boy, really. And I said, when you look at the CV, it's very rich. This is a man who has contracts all over the world. I mean, for heaven's sake, he would even have put Senator Wambua as a referee. I mean, this looks too village. I mean, really, this is not the kind of DG that I want to see at the competition authority of Kenya. As a speaker, you know, even when people want to be given opportunities to serve and want to use their privileged positions to get to serious government offices. Honestly, a measure of a demonstration of a national outlook, even from their own CV, would serve them better than this. Speaker, for those 4 reasons, I will reserve my decision as to whether to vote for Kibet Kimei at the time of voting. But for now, I have serious reservations. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Wambua. Listening to you, you probably would have been a very good referee to the nominee. The unfortunate thing is he can't reach you, doesn't know you. But we expect referees also to be people who can speak about you, people who know you. Nonetheless, thank you very much. And now, honorable members, we don't have any other member seeking to make contribution to this. And I ask the mover, Senator Mutinda, to reply. Senator Mutinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I rise to reply to this motion. And first of all, I really want to thank all members who have given their contributions in regards to the process that we undertook, the vetting process for the nominee for Competition Authority of Kenya, one Mr. Kibet. We've listened keenly, and I do appreciate the responses, the remarks. And it's because, Mr. Speaker, these are the issues during our vetting process that we keenly focused on. And as my colleague yesterday mentioned, that is Senator Boni, on how we started this process. It was a very unique process because it had a petition in regards to the issue of the age. And we were very lenient enough as a committee, as leaders, and we invited the petitioner, one Mr. Francis, who's the president of the Bunge la Wananchi, and gave them a platform to take us through on the concerns that they had. And the matter was in court. And so, as per the independence of parliament, not that that was stopping our vetting process, but we really wanted to hear from them. That was a concern that had been raised. And I'm bringing it, Mr. Speaker, because it's the same concern that a few members have touched, especially just the recent member, in regards to the age issue. But one, Mr. Kibet is not yet the age of 60, but is almost that particular age. But as per right now, he's not attained the age of 60. Mr. Speaker, yes, I agree we had an issue on the letters that have been sent by the EACC. The fact that one Mr. Kibe had been a board member at KMTC, and at that particular time, a vetting process was done, a recruitment process was done, and some issues were raised. And so the members of that committee then at KMTC, him being one of them, were the court ruled that some payments needed to be made. I'm very happy, Mr. Speaker, because we always have a very competent legal team that we work very closely. In our secretariat team, the legal team is led by none other than Lucy. And we engaged, plus the team from the National Assembly, on getting to understand the position and the legality of the undertaking the whole vetting process. From the letters that we had received, we received 2 letters, and legally, nothing stopped the committee from going on with the vetting process. Simply because, one, Mr. Speaker, as I said when I tabled this motion, is that the nominee was the only candidate that was referred to Parliament, both the committees, by the acting then CS, that is Honorable Prime Cabinet, and he referred the name for Mr. Kibet to Parliament as the only nominee. And since the recruitment process had taken place through an agency and also through the board, our mandate was focusing on looking at the credibility of the candidate. Work experience is what we majorly focused on. And those two, and as members have also said, as I listened to them, really certified the committee in terms of work experience. As I note, in our report, I stated clearly that Mr. Kibet has over 30-year experience, which qualified him in regards to what we were keenly looking at. And when it came to academic qualifications, he holds a master's degree among other credibilities or credentials or certifications, Mr. Speaker, that he has held. I want to state, Mr. Speaker, on the issue that has been raised in regards to the tribal issue. Mr. Speaker, if today we would have an opportunity to choose the tribes that we come from, maybe others would choose different. But we are at a moment, at a time this year in 2024, Mr. Speaker, that we are desisting from tribal issues and being tribeless. We did not vet the nominee in regards to his culture or his tribe, because I've listened to members rising on the issue of he's from this particular region. There's no, Article 43 of the Constitution is very clear. No one should be discriminated in regards to age, Mr. Speaker, in regards to your background, where you come from, in regards to gender, Mr. Speaker. And that's why I say, as a committee, we focused on his experience and his credibility and all the other papers that he also was able to lay. That satisfied us as a committee, Mr. Speaker. And that is how we were able to approve this particular candidate. But yes, it is keen to, and it is very prudent to pronounce ourselves that we focused also more on how is going to ensure that the issues that have been raised as far as competition issues are concerned, is in a position to be able to address these particular issues. And we look forward that we are going to have a very dedicated, competent, and someone who's focused to ensure that these issues of competition will be taken care of. Mr. Speaker, allow me to deviate a bit, since I'm the Vice Chair of Finance, and today we were privileged to have the Minister of Finance for the first time in this House. And my chair had tabled a statement in regards to the disbursements of the funds. And this is something that we had raised as a committee on why counties' funds are delaying. And when the CS had appeared, the CS of Finance had appeared before the House, he had stated that he needed to seek legal advice from the AG. I'm happy that advice was shared. That was in regards to Regulation 134 of the PFM Act that provides if the county allocation revenue bill submitted to Parliament for financial year has not been approved by Parliament or not likely to be approved by the beginning, then 50% should be authorized to be allocated to the counties. Mr. Speaker, today, when the CS appeared before this House, he was able to reply to this statement. And he was able to be on record and state that through this advice that he received from the office of the AG, he was able to disburse the funds, that is 31.8 billion. And he's looking forward, even if there's late disbursement, it can just be at least within a month as he's settling and ensuring that there's timely disbursement. He also agrees on timely disbursement. Further to that, he mentioned that there is about 42 billion still in the CRF account that counties are not requisitioning. So as much as counties are saying that they do not have money or they've not received money, the response today from the minister himself, he has clearly stated, as per what the committee questioned in regards to funds to the counties, action has been taken and funds have been dispersed. Still, money is still lying in CRF accounts. So then we don't understand, the senators, then why are we still having delayed salaries? Why are we still having issues of pending bills? If the minister would appear and state that 42 billion is still lying in the CRF account. As senators, as I've had colleagues, especially my chair in CPIC, that is Senator Ososi, talking about the Committee of Finance should be able to push the ministry for disbursement of these funds. We have done it. We have done our part. We continue doing. But at the same time, we continue asking these counties to be able to requisition on time, because that has been stated that they are delaying on the same. And also to ensure they also increase their own source revenue. Today we were to vote on the division of revenue, which we postponed until tomorrow. And we are still supporting the governors as far as the 401 billion is concerned. So governors and counties should know that senators have done their part. The issues that we've raised during our oversight mandate in our different committees, as far as, for example, the issue of delayed payments, stalled projects, pending bills, salaries are also delayed, and yet monies have also been dispersed, that should be sorted as at now. Mr. Speaker, with those many, as far as back to the issue of the motion for one Mr. Kibet, I would want to request that pursuant to Standing Order 66.3, I request for the question on the motion to be deferred until a later time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is hereby deferred, pursuant to Standing Order 66, to the next session of the House. And clerk, let's call the next order. So for purposes of order and the business of the House, because of the quorum, order number 11 to number 16 are hereby deferred to the next session, and we will proceed to call order number 17.
Order number 17, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 1 of 2024, second reading.
This is a bill sponsored by the Deputy Speaker, Senator Kathuri Murungi, MP. He is meant to move the motion in his absence. This is deferred. Call the next order.
Order number 18, the County Government's Election Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 2 of 2024, second reading.
Similarly, the mover of this bill, Senator Christian Asige, is not present in the House. This bill is similarly deferred to the next session. Call the next order.
Order number 19, the County Oversight and Accountability Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Ledama Olekina is supposed to be moving together with Senator William Kisang. They are both absent in the House. This is deferred to the next sitting. Let's call the next order.
Order number 20, the County Civic Education Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Esther Okenyuri is the sponsor of this bill. She is not present in the chamber. The motion is deferred to the next sitting. Let us call the next order.
Order number 21, the County Statistics Bill, Senate Bills number 5 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Ali Ibrahim Roba is meant to be moving this bill. He is not present, and the bill is therefore deferred to the next session. Let's call the next order, clerk.
Order number 22, the Provision of Sanitary Towels Bill, Senate Bills number 7 of 2024, second reading.
This is a bill sponsored by Senator Gloria Orwoba MP, supposed to be for second reading. She's not present in the chamber. This is also deferred to the next sitting. Next order.
Order number 23, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2024, second reading.
The majority leader, Senator Aaron Cheruiyot, supposed to be moving this bill for second reading. It is deferred to the next sitting. Next order, please.
Order number 24, motion. Report of the Select Committee on County Public Investments and Special Funds on its consideration of the audit reports of various water service companies for the financial years 2018-2019, 2019-2020, and 2020-2021.
The chairperson, Committee on County Public Investments and Special Funds, Senator Osotsi, supposed to move this motion. He is absent from the chamber. This order is deferred to the next sitting. Next order.
Order number 25, motion. Report of the Standing Committee on Energy on its inquiry into the liquefied petroleum gas explosion in Mradi area, Embakasi, Nairobi City County.
This motion, the chairperson, Standing Committee on Energy, Senator Omatinga, is not present. This is deferred to the next sitting. Next order, please.
Order number 26, motion. Development of a policy and law for social risk management in infrastructure development projects in Kenya.
Senator Catherine Muma, MP, is the sponsor of this motion. She's equally not present, and therefore the motion is deferred to the next sitting. Next order, please.
Order number 27, motion. Consolidation of bursary funds for equitable access to education in Kenya.
Senator Karungo Thangwa, MP, is absent from the chamber. This motion is deferred to the next order. Let's all rise, honorable members. Honorable senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until Thursday, 3rd of October, 2024 at 2:30 p.m.
Listen carefully. Can you hear the rhythm in the markets? Not just in the syncopations triggered by inflation, but in the preludes leading to global elections, in the dissonance that moves the Nikkei, and the rising chorus conducted by AI. There's music in the markets, and if you want to learn to listen for it, we'll show you how. Learn more at Bloomberg.com.
What hurts me, and it's difficult to say it, it's when we saw our young people in the streets asking for a right to be educated. And we came out and started shooting. And we killed them. How many other families cannot account for where their children are? And they are now very scared of even speaking out because there is a killer squad that is this country. It's not a squad that is under the police command. I dare say that I believe that is why Kwame resigned, because he had people who had a different command and he is being held responsible for the mess in this. While I can tell you, Ruto does not have the numbers to impeach Gachagua. So this is a kipindi. It is meant to achieve the sympathy that is in the mountain.
Do you think the mountain regrets not having listened to Uhuru?
There is a very heavy sense of regret. And telling us to go to Raila, he was never also saying that Raila is 100%. Even before getting to Raila, I am personally aware that he had this discussion with Matiang'i. Yes, he had interested Matiang'is. And I sat in meetings with Matiang'i and others to try and prepare for his presidency. The William that we know has already seen that what he was scheming to achieve through AU is not working. The votes that he thought he's put in his basket from Nyanza and Western, ameziangalia na ameona si nyingi vile alikuwa anataka. Kuna zile zimekataa kuingia kwa saduku yake.
So AU was a plan?
AU was a kipindi. I believe that this country is a very rich country. There is enough for each one of us, but there isn't enough for the greedy ones.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. My name is Lynn Gugi and I'm so happy that you get to join us for yet another beautiful episode. And I've said my intention in this show is that we are able to learn and relearn a lot of things that we've learned through the years. I am so happy even for the feedback that you keep giving us. And I've said we will continue having these thought-provoking conversations because I believe that's the only way we are able to learn. My guest today is known to majority of you, but today we are going to find out more about him, what he believes in and what he thinks is wrong with Kenya and what could be right and what do we need to do to make sure that we secure our country. When people say Kenya ni home, we tend to undermine that statement, but I want everyone to remember Kenya ni home and we have to be able to collectively play our role to make sure that Kenya remains home. I'm about to let him introduce himself, but before I do that, if you are watching this show and you've not subscribed yet, please subscribe. We hit our 1 million subscribers mark just the other month, and we are now approaching to 1.1 million subscribers. So I appreciate you. Remember, subscription is free and it goes a long way into making sure that our content gets to reach as many people as possible. And now, of course, without further ado, please allow me to let my guest today introduce himself. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Kitambo nyinyi mlikuwa mnasalimiana aje?
Mambo.
Poa.
Poa.
Story.
And I am actually trying to remember because we had our change during those days. Na nimesahau.
Hey.
Na ilikuwa sasa. Ilikuwa sasa. That was all the things that we used to say. But now things have really changed. There is a new generation with a new language.
Yeah.
You have got to catch up. Jana nilisema ati ni kipindi, leo nimeambiwa kipindi ni ongo. I am not sure that what I wanted to say was exactly that,
Yes.
but it is in that neighborhood.
Times are changing
A lot.
and we have
quickly.
to change
Yeah, yeah.
with the
Otherwise,
times.
you become irrelevant.
Really good to have you on the show.
Asante
But
sana.
for anyone maybe that is catching you for the very first time, could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Jeremiah Kioni.